Hello everybody, and welcome to a complete guide on Mithrix, Risk of Rain 2's final boss. I've done a little over half of the 80 required Mithrix kills to beat Eclipse difficulty on every survivor, so I figured now is as good a time as ever to make a detailed boss guide. If you're unaware, Eclipse mode is essentially Monsoon with additional negative modifiers being added to your runs each time you defeat the final boss, such as making fall damage lethal, having enemies attack twice as fast, and even making all the damage you take permanent. My point with all of this is, rest assured you will be able to apply this information to any and every kind of run you have, regardless of the difficulty. I'll start here with a brief overview on reaching the final stage, then the stage itself, and the Mithrix fight, then provide detailed information on every single phase of the fight, and finally end with a completely uncut kill to showcase everything I talk about. Hover over the video now or tap your screen to see the timestamps if you want to skip around. It's probably a good idea to mention how to actually get to the final stage. So for anyone unaware, you simply reach Sky Meadow at any point in a loop, so stage 5, 10, 15, etc., and interact with the default teleporter called the Primordial Teleporter, which will then take you to the final stage, Commencement, upon completion. Note that you can still loop your runs. You'll just need to take a blue portal, use the Artifact Teleporter, or rotate the Primordial Teleporter to align with the planet instead of the moon. All three of these methods will each bypass the final stage. Once you arrive on Commencement, you follow the long, and I do mean long, L-shaped path, and once you wrap around the bend of the L, you'll notice two islands on your left and right, each containing some goodies. The left island has green and red cauldrons, the same ones you use at the Lunar Bazaar, and the right has a varying amount of lunar pods, ranging from 0 to 4 if you're lucky. Whether or not you choose to go to the islands, continue back along the bridge and reach some geysers at the end, take them up, and enter Mithrix's arena. Here is a brief overview of the Mithrix fight. There are three main phases as well as an add or additional monster phase. Some people call this add phase phase 2, but to me it makes more sense to simply keep it as the add phase because you're not actually fighting the boss during it. If you want to stick to calling it phase 2, then go ahead. Just know that for this guide it reflects a totally different portion of the fight. So there are 4 total phases to the fight, 3 of which Mithrix is present and 1 without. The fight begins only when you pass the invisible trigger inside of the area. If you take the geysers up and do not move, you'll land outside of this trigger and are then safe to take a breather, stop, collect yourself before moving forward to start. Mithrix is extremely aggressive and quick, meaning that he will track and hunt you down at all points during the encounter. You won't really have a moment to step back and assess the situation you're in, save for if you have a lot of mobility related items. It's best to keep as much distance between yourself and Mithrix as possible, save for one instance that I'll go over in detail once we get there. If you do need a breather, your best bet is one of the 4 ramps that are situated at the edges of the arena. Go all the way up one of them and stand in the very back. For phase 1, Mithrix has 3 attacks: a shoulder charge, a ground slam, and a center dive. Although the dive is not used nearly as often as the other 2, so you could think of the charge and the slam as his 2 main attacks. The shoulder charge is typically done while he's sprinting towards you. There are 2 variants. The first one is 2 quick dashes, the first dash off to one of your sides and the second directly to you, which deals a nice chunk of damage if it hits. These dashes are always in a V-shaped pattern, so if we pretend that red here is Mithrix and blue is the player, the process will look like this: a quick dash out to one side and then another back in. The second variant is an immediate charge directly towards you. At the end of this dash, he will briefly pause while hunched a little forward, stand slowly back up, and twirl his hammer around. When you see this, know that this is free time to damage him. Also, it's very important to note here that Mithrix cleanses any crowd control debuffs on him with either form of dash. So if you slow him with the Chronobobble, an Ice Band proc, or you broke his armor with the Shattering Justice, all of those debuffs will be removed when he dashes next. Bleeds and ignites are exempt from this cleanse. Your best bet to avoiding the charge attack is to move towards Mithrix's origin, the point where he was before starting the dashes, as fast as you possibly can. If you move back or strafe to the side, you'll still be within his path and probably get hit. Moving straight forward and preferably over his head with a mobility skill or a Wax Quill plus Hopu Feather is the best option. The second attack is the ground slam and can be done in one of 2 ways, either immediately after a sprint or immediately after a dash. From my experience, he will usually do a dash slam rather than than a sprint slam, but be aware that it can happen both ways. Don't be waiting for a dash to react to, as it will probably end up surprising you, and trust me, you do not want to get surprised by this hammer. Avoiding the slam is pretty easy due to Mithrix standing still for about half a second to telegraph it, and all you have to do is move away from the big man with the hammer. Pick any direction except towards it and get moving. Finally, the center dive has an extremely obvious indication. Mithrix will stand still, kneel down, and jump out of the arena. After a couple seconds, he will return, slamming the center of the arena and creating a circle of shockwaves that travel outwards to the edges. Also, after completing the dive, he will use his ranged attack one time while sprinting towards you. This fires a barrage of tracking missiles that each do a little bit of damage. You can think of the center dive as Mithrix's special attack. He will not use it until his HP reaches a certain threshold. I don't know the exact numbers, but it seems to be around 1/4 or 25% of his HP. I usually have 3 to 4 dives during a phase, and I've never seen more than 5 outside of Eclipse runs, which don't really count because he attacks twice as often. The main thing to look out for during the dive are the shockwaves that come out after he lands. If they hit you, they will apply the crippled debuff, which reduces your armor by 20 and movement speed by 50%. The shockwaves can easily be avoided by timing your jump and just hopping over them. You don't need any additional movement or mobility items to avoid it. Just don't jump too early or too late and you'll be fine. The Needler attack can also be a little scary at first, but it really doesn't do a whole lot of damage and is mainly used as a distraction, as Mithrix will continue to sprint towards you while firing, leading into a shoulder charge or a grand slam, which are the real threats. It may help to think of phase 1 as having its own cycles within. Mithrix will almost always alternate between the charge and the slam and rarely do the same move twice in a row. So if he just shoulder charged you, his next attack will most likely be a slam and vice versa. I say most likely because there have been very few, and I mean very few times, where he has done 2 slams or 2 charges in a row, but it is so rare that it feels more like a bug than anything. Just keep it in the back of your mind that you could potentially see the same attack, but prepare for the opposite one to happen. Once Mithrix dives to the center for the first time, he's then back to charging and slamming before another dive, and thus the cycles of the fight. Charge, slam, repeat until enough HP has been lost, dive, and then go back, charge, slam, etc. Once Mithrix reaches 0 HP, he will jump away like he's doing a dive, but instead of returning, will alter the environment, spawning huge pillars in a circle around you and lunar chimeras for you to fight. The lunar enemies are the same ones that you fought or ran past along the bridge to the arena, so if you already know their abilities, it's a pretty easy fight. Also, these enemies do count as bosses and will take bonus damage from any armor-piercing rounds that you have. I recommend dealing with the lunar chimera wisps first, the flying ones, as they're basically clay templars with twice the range. They also have a heat-seeking bomb, pretty much a wandering vagrant's attack but like 10 times faster, which places even more importance on taking them down ASAP. The chimera golems are not much of a threat at all. They only have 1 attack, which is a hugely telegraphed double missile shot, so just keep strafing around them while you take out the wisps and you'll be fine. The only noteworthy portion of this phase is that an occasional chimera golem will spawn as reinforcements, with 1 reinforcement spawning every couple minutes or so. I've only ever seen the golem spawn as the reinforcement, and I've been in this phase for a long time on a couple occasions, but it would not hurt to occasionally look up in the sky and double check that no wisps are suddenly there after taking out the initial group of them. If you're getting overwhelmed by the number of enemies, use the newly created pillars as cover, breaking the line of sight and causing enemies to stop attacking and advance on your position. Just keep moving around the pillars in a circular fashion until you feel comfortable enough to re-engage. After all of the ads are dead, Mithrix will land back in the center of the arena and begin phase 2. Lucky for you, there are only a few new things to learn, as the same phase 1 attacks are used, just with some extra stuff packed on. The first change is that he simply moves faster, is more aggressive, and occasionally spawns lunar chimeras to aid him. All of this will truly test your understanding of his core mechanics, as it leaves even less room for error. Note that I have only seen the chimera golem spawn, but I've heard of others getting the wisps, so again, if you're unlucky to get a wisp, remember to take them out first. Otherwise, you can choose to kill or ignore the golems depending on how much damage you have. The second change is that when he does a ground slam, a flame pillar will spawn at the impact point and 3 shockwaves will disperse outwards, traveling in a V shape. Actually, it's more like the top of a trapezoid, and going back to my excellent paint skills here, this is what it looks like. The red circle is the impact point of the hammer, so a blue pillar of flame will spawn there. The 3 shockwaves start directly on top of one another and travel out at a 45-degree angle from the center, which looks like this. To avoid them, move straight back, as moving to either either side or staying too close will probably result in you getting shotgunned by multiple shockwaves. Stay outside of this close range danger zone, and remember to time your jump properly as you do when he dives the center to hop over the waves. If you do get hit by the shockwaves, they will apply the same crippled debuff as the one from the dive, leaving you extremely vulnerable to a charge afterwards, so don't panic and remember to create as much distance between yourself and Mithrix as possible to avoid it. The final change is a new attack entirely, but will only occur after he does a center dive, so you can think of it as an addition to the dive if you'd like. After a dive, Mithrix will run towards you and shoot his needler as usual, but instead of continuing the charge slam rotation, he will then immediately stop in his tracks and create massive rotating lines around him, forming triangles. Thus, I like to call this attack triangles. All you have to do is not stand inside one of those huge flaming lines of death, and instead in between them inside the safe spot of the triangles. These lines can rotate in either direction, and there is no discernible pattern to which direction they choose next, so it's kind of tough to give a blanket statement for advice to dodge them. More often than not, I find it easiest to pick a direction, either left or right, and just continue strafing while firing at Mithrix. Don't sprint, don't jump, and don't freak out. Just walk either left or right and pay attention to the lines, and once one gets close enough, you need to quickly decide whether or not it's best to continue in your current direction or go in the opposite. If you find yourself rotating the same direction as the lines are coming, it's almost always the right call to change your direction and begin going in the opposite direction. If you don't freak out, you will have plenty of time to reverse direction and dodge the line. You will not need to sprint, jump, or use a mobility skill. However, if you can't quickly discern whether or not you'll be hit, then it is a good idea to sprint and use your mobility skill to quickly displace yourself. Whatever you do, do not stop moving, even if you've killed all of the chimeras, as Mithrix can spawn more of them in the middle of this attack, and if you get hit, they can knock you into the lines and have that kill you or just kill you outright. After phase 2, you're pretty much done. The only thing left is to fight a severely weakened Mithrix with one big caveat. He now has all of your items and you'll need to damage him constantly to slowly get them back. Well, he gets almost all of them. He does take all of your items from your inventory, except for tonic afflictions, but he does not gain the effects of tougher times, crowbars, razor wire, or the mired urn boss item. All other items do affect him, although he has no way to proc your on-kill ones such as gasoline, will of the wisps, so you don't need to worry about those ones either. Mithrix only has 2 attacks during this phase, one of which you already know, the Needler. He'll shoot a barrage of tracking needles towards you, which again don't deal too much damage. However, now that he has your items, they can be especially dangerous with capped crit, capped bleed, etc. He moves very slowly around the arena while firing, so your best bet is to just strafe in one direction, like in triangles, to avoid the shots. The second attack is broadcast by him kneeling down, as if he were about to dive in the center, but instead spawning 9 balls that spiral outwards from the center and then come back in. You can treat these as shockwaves and simply jump over them or continue strafing and then have them miss you entirely. After you see them go out, be sure to check behind you after a few seconds as the balls come back in so that you don't get smacked in the butt and die from a crit ice band proc. Mithrix will also lose a portion of his current health, the wiki says 8%, whenever he performs this attack. Despite Mithrix being much slower and having much less HP than the high octane phase that you just got out of, do not underestimate him here, as one mistake will more than likely spell your end, especially if you are fighting him on the second or third loop of a run where you have a metric butt ton of items. It's interesting to note that he will always take your items in the same order, from right to left, bottom to top, and then give them back to you in that same order. So if the last item you received, the bottom right corner, before fighting Mithrix was a brilliant behemoth, it would be the first item that you got back from him in the final phase. Note that only hits that have proc coefficient can grant your items back, so things like fire and ice bands, the brilliant behemoth, or captain's special ability, the 2 beacons that you call down per stage that deal 2000% damage each, those will never grant you an item despite dealing a huge chunk of Mithrix's HP. Finally, you will have your equipment during this entire phase, so keeping a Praeon, capacitor, missile launcher, or other damaging equipment is a great idea if you are struggling to take him down fast. In this final little section here, I figured I'd go over some of the less known things about the Mithrix fight. Speaking of Captain, Mithrix gets his Microbot passive, which will immediately destroy your orbital strikes before they can land, leaving you to only shotgun and tase him as if you were in a hidden realm. Keep that in mind. A Chronobauble is unironically extremely potent versus Mithrix, as it slows down his sprinting speed dramatically and gives you much more time to predict when he's going to dash and slam. Remember that he will cleanse the slow upon dashing, but hey, you'll just have to hit him with anything, one single single time to get that slow back. If you're playing Artificer, taking either the Ice Bolt secondary or Ion Surge special trivializes the entire fight. For some reason, unlike every other boss in the game, Mithrix can be frozen and executed by Artificer's ice abilities, meaning that if you keep a good rotation up, you can essentially perma-freeze him. Also, the only range attack that he has is the Needler, which he only uses after a dive, making Ion Surge's constant airtime a great option if you want to interact with him a little bit less. On any survivor, if you walk up one of those ramps in the corners as Mithrix dives to the center and stands still just behind the lip, Mithrix will come running after you and attempt to shoulder charge you, but instead be sent flying up into the air. So what, you may be saying? Well, then he takes some fall damage, and in some cases, especially on Eclipse 3 and higher, he takes a lot of fall damage. Seriously, try this one out and laugh hysterically when you see him take a fourth of his HP for fall damage. Alright, that about does it with everything I wanted to cover for the final boss. Before I show the entire fight uncut, let me know if this guide helped or if I missed anything in particular that you would have liked to see with a like or dislike on the video and a comment below. You can check out my stream at twitch.tv/Woolie Gaming and consider joining our Discord server as well. Thank you for watching, and here is a fully uncut final stage. All right, so here we are on Commencement, which is stage 6, or I suppose it could be any stage. Yes, you'll note I'm at stage 11 at 1 minute and 33 seconds. I'm using mods here. I just spawned in what items I think I would have in a regular Mithrix run. Maybe it's a little lucky here, you know, 3 ice bands, 2 fire bands, a little bit of crit, etc. But don't worry, for instructional purposes, I will show every single ability many times over on the Mithrix fight. I'll give you all the details you could possibly need to understand the fight. The only reason for the mods is that I didn't want to sit through a regular like 30-minute run. Just wanted to get here so I could showcase everything. With that out of the way, the first little tip actually here is that you're always spawned facing 3 o'clock if you think of the entrance as 12 o'clock noon. So just turn to your left 90 degrees, boom, the ramp is always there. I'll see people spawn in sometimes and they'll be looking and they'll go looking around, oh, where's the entrance? It's always to your left. Every single time the entrance is straight to your left. So we're just gonna walk up this ramp here. The start of this ramp, sorry, the start of this ramp, if you have rusted keys, the lockbox can spawn anywhere along this ramp. The entirety of the stage from this ramp all the way to the final boss. The lockbox can be anywhere. So it could be in this tunnel here, it could be behind that pillar, it could be anywhere, all the way over to the final boss way over there. So here's the first enemy here. This is the Lunar Chimera Golem, not the Wisp. I call this guy the stationary golem sometimes, or the stationary chimera. And his only attack right here is the double missile shot. You'll see he shoots 2 missiles, do like a little spiral pattern. That is the entire attack. So you just have to make sure you keep moving, maybe jump a couple times, you'll just get out of it. Not that hard to dodge. The second enemy is the Lunar Chimera Wisp, and that guy is way more dangerous, like significantly more dangerous. So the normal path is to just go out of here. I'm playing the loader, obviously I'm going to skip some stuff. The normal path is just go along this bridge. It's better to, you know, keep close to the edge in case you have to jump off to dodge a shot or something and get teleported back in. There's no problem with that. Just walk around this. It's a big L shape, so this is the bottom portion of the L, and then it goes that big long section, and there's the final boss. So here are the Lunar Chimeras, the Lunar Chimera Wisps. They have a huge name for some reason. Their main attack is that right there. It's a Clay Templar shot. You'll see if I let him hit me here for a second, or if he stops attacking, that's cool too. I'll just kill the other one here. Get this guy out. I'll let him do it. It's basically a Clay Templar, a flying Clay Templar that shoots 2 streams of bullets at the same time. It does a lot of damage, actually. I got hit here. So you can see, just even for just a couple seconds, I lost a significant portion of my HP. And if I, you know, didn't use mods to get here, maybe I took a lot more damage. They're pretty dangerous. I highly advise that you take out the Wisps before the Golems. And honestly, unless you have a butt ton of damage, just ignore the Golems entirely. They are not dangerous at all. It's very easy to hear when their missiles come out. I'll wait for him here. It's very easy to hear when the shots are coming after you. So if you're running away from them, just be on the lookout for that noise and then just strafe side to side and you'll be able to dodge it, no problem. So again, the lockbox, if you have rusted keys, can be anywhere along this bridge. Absolutely anywhere, so be on the lookout for that. And kill the Wisps here, the Lunar Chimera Wisps, and you should be okay. That's pretty much all you have to do. And you'll also see over here, there are 2 islands. The first one is here to the left, right there. And that one has the cauldrons, as you can see, Cauldron, Soulbound Catalyst. The second one to my right has lunar pods, and you can have anywhere from 0, which is pretty unlucky, to 4 lunar pods. So I think I have 2 here. Might as well just buy them, see what's in there. Hellfire Tincture. I don't have an equipment. Maybe I should. I'll be fine. Bees of Filthy, do nothing. So there's anywhere from 0 to 4. I've never had more than 4. I don't think anything can spawn up here. I've never seen a pod up here. Maybe you guys have. You can tell me different. And to get here, normally all you have to do is from this bridge right here, Oops, didn't mean to do that right there. From this bridge right here, so just walking across it as usual, you can simply jump on this ledge and then walk off this ledge to here. And then you can either, you know, make that jump or just walk a little further, drop down right there. And then to get to the other island, do the same thing. So there to there. And then on this segment, you can either, if you have a mobility skill, if you have a Hopu feather, you can just jump off of here to the islands. And obviously, if you have a ton of mobility, you can just go straight from there to there. Or if you don't have any mobility or you got super unlucky, then you can just take these rocks. This is why these rocks are exactly where they are for very specific reasons. Take these rocks, go to this segment, the slanted segment here, because it extends further than this one. And then from here, just simply drop down. Not a big deal whatsoever. So I'm going to check these actually. You have a random number of cauldrons. I've had times where I have like 2 cauldrons total. And then I've had times where I have like 10 cauldrons total. It just varies. And also the color, the rarity of the cauldrons also just varies. I've had all reds. I've had all greens. It doesn't matter. It's completely random. Also, cauldrons can spawn up here. I've had like 2 or 3 sometimes. There can be cauldrons up here. And also, you can have a cauldron that spawns right here. So be on the lookout. Look up here. Maybe there's like a 57-leaf clover or something chilling up here. And the reason why these cauldrons are important is because on Sky Meadow, if you find a scrapper, you can scrap all the items you know you don't need for the final boss, such as Will of the Wisps, ukuleles, meat hooks, etc. You don't need any AoE for the boss fight, and like old guillotines, there's no elites in this boss fight. So all your AoE and all of your, I guess guillotines, there's no other elite, maybe like Wake of Vultures. You can scrap all of that and use the scrap here at the cauldrons to get stuff that might actually be useful, like fuel cells, like maybe a stealth kit if you want to. Actually, I'll print a stealth kit. Why not? Let's get 1 stealth kit. I like an infusion, I guess. Maybe the infusion is not that good because you have to, you know, kill enemies to get the health. You get my point, though. It's a good idea to use the scrappers. And then to get off of this island, if you have a lot of mobility, you can just, you know, get back up there. I'm playing the loader. I can easily get back up there. But if you have no mobility, all you do is you jump off here. And another pro tip is if you ping the ground, that is the barrier. That's the invisible barrier where you get teleported back in. So if you cancel your momentum right at the end, and then you ping the ground so you know that you're close enough, boom, it teleports back in, you take no damage. Now, again, I'm playing the loader. She doesn't take fall damage, so it's kind of irrelevant. But if you're playing, let's say like multi or engineer or something, and you have 1 Hopu feather and that's it, you jump off the island and then you just cancel your momentum right at the end. All right, so here is the final boss arena. There's little geysers, so take them on up. If you don't move at all after taking a geyser, the boss fight will not start until you move forward. So if you want to, you know, shake off the nerves a little bit, take a deep breath, relax, you can just sit here, chill out as long as you want. You can also just run around. The invisible barrier is like somewhere, I guess, where did my pings go? Hello? It's somewhere ahead of me right here. So you can take as much time as you want, move forward, and then you start the fight. Also, I think when the music changes, that's obviously when you pass the barrier, so. All right, so phase 1 of Mithrix. Again, there are 2 main attacks that he has. It's the shoulder charge and the hammer slam. So he will always start, when he comes from the center, anytime he's coming from the center, he will start sprinting towards you, and he will more than likely dash for his first attack like that. Or he will slam. If you're right next to him, if you just let him sprint straight towards you, he might slam you immediately, but it's unlikely. As long as you're keeping a distance, you're trying to avoid him, he will probably dash for his first attack. And remember, there are 2 different shoulder charges there. You saw the first one right there. That was the V attack, went boom, boom. He like ping-ponged off the wall. The second version is he will instantly dash. That was another ping pong. Watch out for the hammer. I'm trying to get him to use his instant dash here. See if he did it. No, that's another. He went back and then in. That was the same one. See if he uses the instant one. No, he's not doing it. So it's a pretty easy fight. All you have to do is just avoid the slams. That was an instant one. You saw that right there. He instantly dashed forward and attacked me. That's another one you have to be very, very careful of because it's so hard to predict when it happens. It's very hard. So just keep on a move. Keep on a move. Don't get right next to him. If you're playing Mercenary, then my condolences. Or I guess if you're playing Loader too, you have to pick and choose your windows of engagement very carefully. Like right now, I'm not going to... I wouldn't have used my punch there, even if I wanted to, because I knew that he would have slammed me with the hammer right after that. He's always going to charge and then slam. Dash, charge, slam. Or dash and charge, I'm just using them synonymously, the same word. Charge, slam, charge, slam. So if he just charged, assume that he's going to slam. Like that. He just charged. Now he's doing a slam. So I'll wait for him to charge again. There he goes. And then he's going to slam. And then boom, we can go in and get a free punch there. So that's the general idea with the Mithrix fight. You have to, and obviously I have a butt ton of damage, so he instantly gets phased here. He's going to go to the center. Shockwaves come out. You jump over the shockwave. It is, that's the whole fight. That's the whole, sorry, it's not the whole fight. That's the whole phase 1. Just dodge the hammer. Keep moving. If he dashes towards you, just go straight towards him. And ooh, that was a risky one there. Good thing I have Hopu feathers. If he's running towards you, you want to go straight towards him because then he will dash and miss you. That is the best way to avoid the dashes. Just go straight towards him. Hopefully he doesn't die here because I want to do another center phase. That should be another center phase. Cool. So he goes to the center. He's going to come down, slam, and then the shockwaves will come. You just time your jump, boom, jump right over him, or they just miss you. That works too. And then remember that he will shoot that needler only when he comes back from a center dive. That is the only time that he will fire that needler shot, except for the last phase. But that's the exception, obviously. So here, one last time, he'll be running towards me. I'm just going to run towards him. He's going to dash, he's going to miss, and then he's just going to slam. And then out of my window, boom, hit him. And obviously, if you're playing a ranged survivor, you have a lot more freedom. You can just shoot him whenever you want to, pretty much. But if you're playing a melee survivor, that's one of the reasons why I chose loader, so I can show you those windows of engagement. So here's the ad phase, nothing special. You got the big pillars now. They spawned in a big circle around the arena. If you want to, if you have a... Whew, that was close. If you want to, you have a lot of momentum. You can just get up here and, you know, chill out a little bit if you want to. I don't want to. So lunar chimeras, again, the wisps are the dangerous ones, not the golems, the stationary guys. Or sorry, not stationary, the... yeah, I guess stationary. They stay on the ground. That's the stationary part. Kill the wisps, and there's nothing special about this phase. Occasionally, if you take too long, you will get additional golems, these guys. Also, another interesting note is that they have red HP. You'll see here the red HP bar. So my armor-piercing rounds do affect them and do the bonus damage. Pretty cool. But you just kill the ads, and then you're good to go. Again, if you need help, or sorry, if you need a moment to breathe, you can stand behind the pillars here, rotate around the pillars to dodge shots, etc. So now we're on phase 2 of Mithrix. If you want to call it phase 3 of the fight, that's fine too. The first most notable thing is that when he slams, he creates 1, that big pillar, and 2, the shockwaves that come out. You saw oh, that was unlucky. You saw I dodge the shockwaves there. Also, he will spawn, this is another notable change, that was unlucky again. He will spawn the Lunar Chimera Golems to follow him. I have heard of people getting the Wisps. I have not personally gotten the Wisps, but I have heard of it happening. So be on the lookout for the Wisp, like occasionally maybe look up and make sure nothing's following you. Although I have done a lot of Mithrix kills and I've never seen a Wisp, so maybe don't do that. You don't have to worry about that. If it's your first time killing Mithrix, just focus on Mithrix himself. But the golems, it's only a good idea to take out the golems if you have a medium to high amount of damage. Because if you don't have a lot of damage, you're going to take so much time. It's going to take a lot of time to kill the golems. And that's the time that you're not spending on fighting Mithrix. Or paying attention to him, and not even fighting him, paying attention to him. Because you make one mistake in this fight, and you're probably going to die. Because phase 2 is when he gets the shockwaves out of his slam. And if you get hit by a shockwave, you get your movement speed reduced by half, 50% reduction. It's massive. So that leaves you very vulnerable to him charging you and then finishing you off, killing you. So with the golems, again, if you don't have a lot of damage, just ignore them. Because once you phase Mithrix, by phase, I mean he goes to the center and does triangles. I just call that phasing. You know, going on to the next phase, quote unquote, even though it's not the... But you get my idea. Don't kill the golems if you have a little amount of damage, but you have medium to high amount. Kill the golems, take them out, and then you can just focus on the fight. That could have been very bad. Other than that, Mithrix is just doing the same attack patterns as you saw before, just with the addition, again, of the big flame pillar and the shockwaves when he slams the ground. So I think now we can do... Well, I was unlucky. Now we can do some damage to him. Get him to go to the next phase here. There we go. So here comes triangle phase. After he slams the ground, you just jump over the shockwaves as usual. Now he'll start by sprinting towards you a little bit. Maybe he'll needler. And maybe he'll slam. Perfect. And now he's going to triangles. 100% guaranteed he goes to triangles here. So he'll either do a slam or a dash. That could have been bad. Or he will do triangles right away. And if he does a slam or a dash, he will always go to triangles the very next attack. He will never do double slam, double dash. He will go one attack and then triangles, or triangles right away as soon as he comes back from the center. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Triangles are very important because if you get caught off guard, if you're in a bad spot, triangles can kill you like instantly. Also, speaking of triangles, this is a very good spot to be. This is the... I should have shown this on the first phase. This is the safe spot, quote unquote. It's not necessarily a safe... Speak of the devil, it's not necessarily a safe spot because he can still kind of get to you. But once you're up here and you're standing in this spot, he kind of just... I don't know why, but he just kind of stands under you and does nothing. Or he goes to the center like this. And this would be a perfect example for triangles. There you go. You just stand up here, and the triangles, they won't hit you. It looks like it'll reach you. And I've heard of people getting hit up here, but the radius, look at that. It's so large. The rotation, rather, of the triangles is so large that you have a very, very, very small chance of being hit by the triangles when you're up there. So if you need to take a breather and you don't want to get free damage on Mithrix, on triangle phase, stand up here. You should be perfectly fine. And then here, we're back to just a regular Mithrix. He's going to shoulder charge. He's going to slam, etc., etc. Got to stay in the air there because that might have hit me. Oh man, that was the double slam there. Very rarely will he do 2 slams or 2 dashes in a row. Before I was talking about specifically after the center dive here, but even in general in his regular attacks, he will very rarely do double slam, double triangle, or sorry, double dash. So just keep that in mind. It's usually going to be one and then the other. So here we go. I'm just going to keep moving. Oh, that was bad. Very good though. So don't freak out if you get hit. Don't freak out. Just keep moving. If you think that you're going to get hit, maybe use your mobility skill at the last second, or quickly rotate the opposite direction. Just don't freak out. That's the most important thing. Do not freak out if you think you're going to get hit, because you probably will get hit. Even if you would have dodged it before, you freak out, you're probably going to get hit. I'm just going to kill this guy again. Got it again there. So he's going to... Oh, he needlered me. Interesting. So I guess the final phase, he can needler you regularly. I've never seen that, actually. It's the first time. First time for everything, I suppose. So here, I'll just finish up the fight here after he slams. I knew that was going to hit me. Oh, well. All right, so here is the final phase. A lot of people struggle with the final phase, or they find it very annoying. He takes all of your items, except for spindle tonic debuffs, which is bad, because, debuff is bad. And he doesn't use crowbars, razor wire, mired urn, or tougher times, the teddy bears that block for you. He does use everything else, including Tesla coils. So if you're playing a melee survivor like this, and you have a Tesla coil, I do not, but assume, let's just, think that I did have a Tesla coil, then I would have to keep a distance. I'd have to, stay out of range over here. A good thing is you'll see the icon. See how you see he has double bands ready? You'll see that Tesla coil icon. It'll be a big pink, electric bolt. You'll see that, and you know that the Tesla coil is currently active. Wait for that to go away, then you can go in. You have I think it's 8 seconds on, 8 seconds off is the Tesla coil. Maybe it's 10 and 10. I don't know. Wait for it to go away, then engage him. And again, I'm sorry if I'm just spewing information out here. I'm trying to showcase absolutely everything for the fight. This is not supposed to be like a regular Mithrix fight. Obviously, I would have been damaging him by now. So this is how easy this phase is right here. You just keep moving around. He'll just needler you. Just move in a circle. It doesn't matter which direction, clockwise, counterclockwise. Just keep moving, and he will not be able to hit you. Right there, I got slapped a little bit, but that's fine. If you keep a close angle, actually, like this, you will get hit more often. But if you keep a tight angle, you will get hit. If you keep a more broad angle, you stay away from him, they won't hit you at all. I think it's something to do with the acceleration of the shots, if I had to guess. So yeah, that's all you have to do. Just walk in a circle, wait for the shots to come out. I'm gonna hit him a couple times now. Start getting my items back. Once you deal damage to him for the first time, he will slam the ground, and these little balls will come out. All you have to do is pay attention to the balls, keep running around, make sure they don't hit you. Just keep running around, and you should be okay. That was kind of close. Remember, the balls go out in a spiral, and then they come back, so you have to be very, very, very careful about that. Also, the reason why he's using this so frequently is that I had a purity on me, so 2-second cooldown reduction. That also applies to Mithrix. That could have been bad. That was the double band proc right there. Holy moly. We're good to go, though. It's all right. That's why I got to pay attention. Pay attention to the spiky balls. Also, he has a Dio's best friend. I took a Dios on purpose just to showcase this. If you have a Dio's best friend and you give it to Mithrix, or he gets it rather, when he dies, he will respawn. However, you have all of your items, so it's a pretty free kill at that point. Just be careful of that. So he should be dead here. There we go. He's going to respawn because he had my Dios. There he is. I just have to kill him again, but I have every single one of my items, so it should be a one-shot. There you go. And that is the Mithrix fight. Again, I know that I had mods and all this stuff. It wasn't a real fight, quote-unquote. I thought I explained everything in the boss fight. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. And one last thing before we go here. The logbook for this stage is actually underneath the stage. Right here. So if I go underneath the stage where all these little pillars conjoin, if you get here before 5 minutes, not 5 minutes total, but when you reach commencement, you have 5 minutes to get to this location. And it doesn't matter if you kill the boss beforehand or after. It doesn't matter. If you get here within 5 minutes, the logbook will be right here for you to acquire. So again, if you get here and you have 1,000,000 damage, you go there, kill Mithrix real quick, and then get here before 5 minutes, you'll still have the logbook. And sorry, actually, one last thing I forgot to explain. You have to leave this stage. That's the whole point of this. It's kind of obvious. Moon detonation imminent. You have a big marker on your map way over there. You have to exit. But just in case you didn't know, yes, the whole goal after you kill Mithrix is to escape the final stage. You will get the occasional triangle beams there, or the flame lines, whatever you want to call them. And also, Void Reavers will spawn. Note that the Void Reaver attack, if you get hit by 3 or more, will root you in place, so it can be very dangerous. Be careful of that. Otherwise, you just exit the stage the same way you got here. And once you reach here back to your dropship, you are good to go. You successfully killed Mithrix and beat the game.